So here we have a text, and when we hover, we see that the text characters get scattered randomly. How do we build this effect? Let's learn. So I'm in my cursor, and I've got this div with a class of title which has scattered. And then in the CSS, you may see that we have the background color is dark, height, some display properties, and then we've also styled the title with font, bold, and then font size, font family, letter spacing, color, and then cursor to pointer and whatnot. But we also have the span. Now you may think we don't have a span, why do we have styling for the span? So what's going to happen is, if you have seen the demo, when we hover the text, each individual character basically gets scattered. So we're going to render each individual character as a span. So using JavaScript, we want to break this, and then we want to have a span which will wrap each individual character. So this would be for that. And then there are two important properties or two important functions that we need. One is when we mouse hover, or when the mouse basically goes on top of this element, we have the scattering going on, and then when it leaves, we make it come back to its original place, or the actual position. So here we have on mouse enter, which basically scatters, and then on mouse leave, which resets. Now let's start with the JavaScript and let's add the actual implementation. So here we have the script tag, when first we grab onto the title and its inner HTML. Now the inner HTML of this title div would be scattered, but what we want to do is we want to change this scattered into each individual spans having the individual characters. So we want to add here, instead of the existing value, what we want to do is we want to first grab onto the existing one, which is obviously the same inner HTML, but we want to split it, run a map, basically map through each individual characters. And then for each individual character, you want to have a span. So here, it doesn't really matter what word you have. And you can have like a very long word or very short, but then each of the characters would be inside of a span. And then you just join them, and then you get the div with all the characters inside of a span. And now you have this as well getting applied to the spans. The next thing that we want to do is you want to add these two functions, that is scatter and reset. Now, if you've seen the demo, you might have seen that when we hover, randomly each individual character gets displaced in their x-axis or y-axis, and then they also get rotated. So for that, we grab onto each of the spans, and then for each individual span, we take their style and transform property, and then we translate, and then we rotate them. Now, since the translate happens on both x and y, so we need the translate for both x and y. So here we use template literals. We use math.random to generate a random value every time you hover, and then we subtract that with 0.5, and then just multiply a 400 just so that it rounds up, and then we just add the percentage. So this is for the x. Similarly, we do for the y, and then we have the translate done. In the same way, we're going to do for the rotate. So for the rotate, we use the template literals. We generate a random number, subtract that with 0.5, and then since it's going to rotate 360 degrees, so we just have 360. And then we add the degrees at the end. And then for the reset, what we do is we grab onto all the spans, and then we transform and then bring back to the original, which is 0. And that's how you get this effect.